Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really jumping into something big affecting, well, the entire staffing industry.
Yeah, it's a critical one.
It's this high-stakes point where artificial intelligence meets hiring fairness.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not just talking theory here.
Huh?
We're looking squarely at staffing agencies,
Mm,
the ones who've really leaned into AI to manage those huge numbers of candidates.
that's absolutely right. And the core thing we need to understand is the tension there. AI offers this incredible efficiency, right? Faster placements, handling volume.
The big promise.
But, and this is the crucial but, it's also posing a serious threat to fair hiring because of something called algorithmic bias.
Okay.
We've looked at a lot of materials showing this isn't some future problem. As of, well, right now, September 2025, it's an urgent, everyday issue for these companies.
Absolutely. So our mission today really is to pull out the key things you need to understand now. Like, how does this bias actually work? Where does it hide?
Yeah, the mechanics of it.
And what are the real impacts? We're looking at legal risks, damage to their name,
Definitely. The consequences.
and then, importantly, what's the fix? What's this sort of toolkit that everyone's talking about for building AI systems that are actually fair?
Okay, let's get into it. It really starts with why they adopted AI in the first place.
Right. It was about efficiency, wasn't it? Driven by just the sheer volume. Staffing agencies, they drown in data resumes, skills, client needs, thousands of them.
Exactly. Mountains of information.
So AI looked like the answer. Process it all faster, maybe more consistently than a person could. Make everything better, quicker, cheaper. That was the idea.
And that potential is huge, no question. But the speed, that hyper efficiency, it comes packaged with a really big immediate risk.
Okay.
Because if you optimize for speed using data that's already flawed or reflects past biases, well, you don't just speed up hiring, you speed up discrimination. We're seeing solid evidence now that AI, if you just let it run without careful checks, is either introducing bias or making existing biases worse. Things based on gender, race, background. And what's really striking is how fast this went from being a background worry to a major crisis point for these firms.
I think the hardest part for many people to really get their head around is the how. And AI is just math, right? Algorithms, it can't be prejudiced like a person.
Right.
It's not like someone programmed it to dislike certain groups. So how does the bias actually get in there?
That's the key misunderstanding. The AI isn't setting out to be biased. It's just reflecting.
Reflecting what?
Reflecting the data it learned from. And the root cause is, well, it sounds simple, but the effects are huge. AI models are trained on historical hiring data.
Okay, historical data.
Now just think about what's in that data. Decades of decisions made by humans. And those decisions, they're full of unconscious biases.
Like favoring people from certain schools.
Exactly. Or tending to pick certain types of people for certain roles, maybe just out of habit, or using fuzzy criteria that ended up favoring one group over another unintentionally, perhaps.
That makes sense. So the data shows the past, biases and all, not some perfect future.
Precisely.
So the algorithm doesn't invent the bias.
Yep.
It just learns the patterns that were already there. It looks at the history and says, okay, people like this got hired for this job most of the time, so I'll keep doing that because it's efficient.
You've nailed it. It's like a feedback loop. Institutional memory, but turned into code. And it gets really subtle with something called proxy variables.
Proxy variables. Okay, explain that. What does that mean here?
So a proxy variable isn't something obviously protected like race or gender. It's something else the AI uses. Maybe the candidate's zip code or the specific university they attended, even if it's not top tier, or maybe even hobbies listed on a resume like sailing or polo.
Okay. How does that lead to bias?
Well, the AI might notice that historically, people hired for certain high-paying jobs tended to live in those zip codes or went to those schools or had those hobbies. It sees a correlation.
I see.
It's not explicitly sorting by wealth or background, but those proxies correlate so strongly with wealth or a particular demographic that it ends up doing the same thing. The AI thinks the correlation means causation or merit.
That's the real aha moment then. The machine isn't being told, prefer this group, but it learns to use these subtle markers that happen to correlate with certain groups and just replicates the past workforce.
Precisely. And we've got some pretty stark numbers on this. A study just this year, 2025, found some AI recruitment tools were rating male candidates, on average, 10% higher for tech roles.
10%, just like that.
10% higher than female candidates who were equally qualified on paper. And when they dug into why, it wasn't about the listed skills. It traced right back to the training data that reflected historical male dominance in those tech fields.
Wow.
The AI just learned the pattern and reinforced it.
A 10% built-in advantage.
Yeah.
Purely from old data. Because the system learned to see history as a predictor of quality. That's
that's staggering. It really shows why just feeding the AI more data isn't the answer if the data itself is the problem.
right. And it raises that crucial point. Okay, maybe the bias isn't intentional design, it's reflection. But for the candidate who gets unfairly screened out, the result is identical. It's still exclusion, still a denial of opportunity.
Okay, so let's pivot then to the consequences for the agencies.
Sure.
This isn't just theoretical ethics. When bias gets into the system, it must hit their business hard. What actually happens?
Oh, the fallout is serious. And it's immediate. When AI makes bias placements, you see legal challenges pop up, class action lawsuits even.
Right, the legal side.
And then there's a reputation damage, which might be even worse long term. Staffing agencies run on trust. Candidates need to trust they'll get a fair shot. Client companies need to trust they're seeing the best, most diverse talent.
And if that trust evaporates, if a client suspects the candidate pool is skewed by the algorithm,
Yeah.
that's a huge business problem. It's fundamental. The risk is just too high now. And it's not rare incidents either. Our sources show a recent big industry survey found about 15% of staffing firms.
15. 1-5.
Yes, 15% have already faced formal complaints or actual legal issues specifically because of algorithmic bias in their hiring tech.
Wow. That's nearly 1 in 6 or 7 agencies. That's significant.
It is. And that kind of number, dealing with real legal heat and financial risk, that definitely gets attention.
I bet. That kind of pressure must be forcing a pretty quick change in how the industry operates.
It absolutely is. Those consequences are driving a huge shift. Companies are scrambling to adopt ethical AI practices, not just because it's the right thing to do, but frankly, as a core risk management strategy, it's becoming essential for survival, really, to ensure fairness and rebuild that trust.
Okay, so if the historical data is poisoned, in a way, they need a plan. They can't just ditch the expensive AI they've invested in.
No, not usually.
So they have to fix it. Fix the inputs, fix the process. Let's talk about those solutions. This toolkit the industry is starting to use to fight bias and aim for fairness.
Right. There are basically 4 key strategies emerging that work together.
The first one seems fundamental. Data auditing. What does that actually involve?
It means digging deep into the training data, constantly. Reviewing it, testing it, cleaning it up to find and reduce those bias signals we talked about, including those tricky proxy variables.
And that's not a one-off thing.
Definitely not. It's ongoing work. It's complex, can be expensive. You need experts to probe the data, find correlations that might be reinforcing bias, like if candidates from one specific background are consistently scoring lower. Then you have to decide, do we remove that variable? Reweight it.
Sacrificing maybe a bit of predictive power for fairness.
Exactly. It's a trade-off you have to make now.
Okay, that's cleaning the data. What's the second part of the toolkit?
It's about who builds the AI. Diverse teams.
Seems logical, but why is it critical for the AI itself?
Because building AI involves making lots of small judgment calls. If the team building it is very homogeneous, say, all from similar backgrounds, they might not even notice assumptions or blind spots in the data or in the way the model is set up. Someone with a different background, a different perspective, might immediately say, hey, wait a minute, this seems skewed. Having that mix of views challenges assumptions before they get locked into the code, leads to more balanced systems.
Makes sense. Okay, data auditing, diverse teams.
Yeah.
What about the AI's decision process itself? This sounds like the tricky part. Explainability, transparency.
Yeah, this is a big technical challenge. A lot of the powerful AI models are black boxes.
Meaning we don't know how they reach a conclusion?
Pretty much. They give you an output, a recommendation, a score, but the steps they took to get there can be really hard to decipher, sometimes even for the developers. Explainability means demanding we can see inside.
So someone gets rejected.
The firm needs to be able to ask the AI why and get a clear answer, not just a probability score. This is tough because often making a model more transparent can make it a bit less powerful or efficient, but it's becoming an ethical and increasingly legal necessity.
Right. Data, people, process transparency. That's a lot of internal effort.
Yeah.
Is there an external push, too? A stick to go with these carrots?
Absolutely. That's the 4th piece. Regulation.
Ah, The government's stepping in.
Yes. Sources confirm there's a strong push happening right now in 2025 for new guidelines, specifically mandatory fairness audits for AI used in hiring.
Mandatory audits.
Yes. It basically standardizes the expectation. It's not optional anymore. Companies will have to prove, through independent checks, that their AI systems are producing fair outcomes across different demographic groups. That changes the game, makes accountability real.
It's really interesting. The whole solution set seems to revolve around taking human values, fairness, diversity, transparency, and actively engineering them into the technology, sometimes even if it slows things down a bit.
That's exactly the shift we're seeing. It shows the technology and maybe the industry is maturing. The future for AI in staffing relies completely on embedding these ethical checks right from the start. They have to be seen as core features, not optional add-ons.
So looking forward then, we've got this four-part toolkit for now. What's next? What's the ultimate goal for really achieving fairness, true meritocracy with these systems?
The next big leap needs to be integrating proper fairness metrics directly into the AI's operation. And this is key, real-time bias correction.
Real-time correction. How does that differ from the data auditing?
Auditing mostly happens before you deploy the AI. Real-time correction means the system is constantly watching its own results as it works, minute by minute. Is it starting to favor candidates from one source? Is a demographic group suddenly being screened out at a higher rate?
And if it detects that?
It automatically adjusts itself. It might downweight a factor that seems to be causing skew, even if that factor looked okay in the initial training data. It's about self-correcting on the fly.
So it's like the AI has a conscience, almost, continuously checking itself against fairness goals.
Kind of, yeah. The aim is to move past just cleaning up yesterday's bias data and into a state where the system is constantly fighting historical bias as it operates. That's how you get closer to truly merit-based hiring, where skills and potential are really what matter most.
And the agencies that get this right.
The ones adopting these genuinely ethical, proactive AI strategies now, they're the ones who will thrive. They'll build trust, navigate the regulations, and frankly, probably get better results long term.
It makes total sense. If AI is going to help define merit, it needs a definition based on real qualifications, not just echoes of past demographics. Okay, so here's something for you, the listener, to think about as you see these tools roll out. If the goal really is a totally unbiased, merit-driven system, how deep does that real-time correction need to go? How aggressive does it need to be to truly counteract decades of biased historical data that shaped the AI's initial idea of success? History weighs heavy. How hard does the AI need to push back moment by moment to ensure everyone truly starts on a level playing field?
That's the critical question. Finding that balance is going to shape the future of work. Thanks for exploring it with us.
Until next time on The Deep Dive.